Well, it's great to be back here with you. Sorry we missed last week. As you know, I was in Washington, D.C. with the other governors. While we compared notes about what's working in our states, we also had a chance to meet with President Trump and members of his cabinet. And let me just say what a difference the Trump administration is making versus the prior administration. It's literally like night and day. The energy in the administration is contagious. His team is very capable and, most importantly, very accessible. We got to visit with the president a number of times during the visit. I was also able to have one-on-one conversations with many of the members of his administration. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins was able to share a meal. Secretary of Interior Doug Burgum, Secretary of Energy Chris Wright, and many others. We talked about the importance of securing our borders, reducing costs, increasing American-made energy. Under President Trump, there's a new era of cooperation between the governors and his administration, which is welcome. We have an open line of communications with the White House staff and the federal agencies. They were even giving out their cell phone numbers to the governors, which I appreciate. This is a huge contrast from what we saw with the Biden administration when, under the prior administration, when governors would reach out, here's what we heard. Crickets, literally nothing, no response. With President Trump and his team in place, we are communicating almost on a daily basis. Cabinet secretaries I spoke to are excited to come to Montana, and I hear from Montanans directly and see what they can do to help our state succeed and thrive. And I look forward to hosting them. We'll have announcements about that in upcoming days and weeks. I'm optimistic about this era of collaboration for both Republicans, Democrats, independents. The president was very clear. He's going to work with everybody to put the American people first. Now, here in Montana, we're focused on delivering meaningful, permanent tax relief for Montanans. They work hard for everything that they earn. They deserve to keep more of it. We must remember that their money belongs to them, not to the government. That's why we should cut both Montanans' income tax and property tax. As I've said before, rising property taxes fuel the affordability crisis hitting homeowners across the nation. Montana homeowners need and deserve permanent relief. That's why I wholeheartedly support the homestead rate cut bill that's making its way through the legislature. It's a tax cut for Montanans in their primary residence, the place they live and call home. If you're a homeowner and live in your home, you would get a property tax cut. If you're a renter who lives in a long-term rental, your rent should reflect the lower rate that your landlord pays. The homestead rate cut is projected to provide permanent, direct property tax relief to 215,000 Montana homeowners and 32,000 Montana small businesses. It's also projected to provide indirect relief to over 130,000 renters across Montana. Estimates show the average homeowner will see a 15% property tax cut, and the average small business will see an 18% cut in their property taxes. We should provide relief to Montanans who live here, not people who fly into Montana for a few days or weeks. Those out-of-state folks don't pay income taxes that help fund our law enforcement, roads, bridges, or schools. With our homestead rate cut, we support Montanans who live here in their home. We're also making sure those who, for example, don't live here, who don't pay income taxes here, and who do own second homes here, pay their fair share and help cover the costs of essential services that they use when they're visiting. The homestead rate cut is about making life more affordable for Montanans, including those on fixed incomes. Let me share with you why this is so important. Earlier this week, I sat down with homeowners in Billings. They told me directly about how important permanent, meaningful property tax relief is for them. One of the homeowners is a veteran, Jackie Lorang. Jackie said she had worked hard to pay off her mortgage, and she was rightfully excited about it. But the rising homeowners insurance and property taxes together, she said her home is still one of the highest expenses she has every month. As a landlord, she also said she sees the impact of rising insurance and property taxes on her renters, too. She knows that landlords set their prices, but when taxes and insurance go up, landlords have no option except to pass it on to their renters. But as I heard, landlords know that property tax rate cut will allow them to lower rent prices, passing the benefits on to their renters. I also heard from Dan Stetler, a Montana homeowner and also a retired veteran. He told me the homestead rate cut would benefit him as well. He said he bought his home in 2014. At the time, his property taxes were about $4,000. Now, he's looking at over $6,000 in property taxes. He said the homestead rate cut would give him more money to invest in the community, supporting Montana businesses and workers. I also heard from another homeowner and a veteran as well, who spoke about the importance of delivering permanent relief instead of just rebates. He said a rebate helped out when he got it with some short-term expenses, but he said he needs permanent relief, not just rebates. He said the homestead rate cut will allow Montanans to plan for the long term, and I think that makes sense. Homeowners and families need certainty, and we should give it to them. Thankfully, we're making progress. Last week, the House Appropriations Committee voted to approve the homestead rate cut on a bipartisan basis, and later today, the House will consider the homestead rate cut on the floor for third reading. I want to thank Speaker Lear, Majority Leader Fitzpatrick, and Representative Jones for moving this bill. Between their leadership and strong bipartisan support, the homestead rate cut is making progress in the legislature. The legislature is doing a good job of moving bills. This week, both the Senate and House have sent a number of bills to my desk. I'm particularly encouraged that Senate Bill 42 is moving forward. Senate Bill 42 empowers Montana voters to know a judicial candidate's political party. I've appreciated working with President Regier, Majority Leader McGilvery, and Republican senators to get this moving through the Senate. I could go on, but ultimately, I want to thank legislators for their work, Republican and Democrat. And let me just say, so many legislators come to Helena to serve their communities. They put their lives and their jobs and their families on hold to come here. I want to recognize them for this work. Each and every one of them is making a sacrifice for the people of Montana. We are all elected to serve, and I look forward to continuing to work with them to deliver for Montanans who sent us here, to solve problems Montanans are facing, to make it a little more affordable, to help them make ends meet, and to help them achieve the American dream right here in Montana. And with that, I'd be happy to open up for questions. I would just ask, when you give us your question, just state your name and the outlet you're associated with. Who's first? Yes.
I'm Carly. I'm with Lee Newspapers. You mentioned that the legislature is moving a number of bills through. Obviously, today it's looking like HB 245, which is Buttree's Medicaid expansion bill, will pass through. I'm just curious to hear kind of your thoughts on that bill, if you've had a chance to sit down with it, and if it's kind of up to your standards on the work requirements front that you're hoping for.
Well, we'll need to get the final bill to give you feedback on it. Again, I've been very clear. We've put the expansion in our budget, and I've been clear it should be a safety net, and able-bodied adults who don't have dependent children should work to get the benefit or be looking for work. So we're encouraged by the progress, and I look forward to getting the bill to make a final determination.
Can I ask a quick follow-up?
Sure.
You also mentioned that you have a really open line of communication with the White House and President Trump's administration. One of the things that we're hearing on Medicaid expansion, obviously, is some uncertainty around what the feds might do regarding reimbursement rates, and kind of a couple other levers that they might be able to pull. Any insight there? Did that come up in your conversations in DC?
We did not discuss that while we were there. I've been very clear. I think this is a safety net we need in Montana. That's why we put it in our budget. We'll continue to advocate, but I know the channels of communication are open. As they reveal more of their plans, we'll have the ability to provide input. Yeah.
Eric Dietrich, Montana Free Press. Shifting back to 231, the homestead bill, one of the things that happened as that came out of reports last week was there was a provision added that ties that bill to a Democratic measure that would be a tax credit to offset property taxes. If both those bills get to your desk in their current form, would you sign both of them?
Well, as you know, that's a hypothetical question. I'll have to wait to see the bills. We've been very strong advocates for the homestead rate cut. I think it's going to do a good job for Montanans. These bills take very peculiar and circuitous routes as they make it to my desk. So I'm going to reserve judgment on all the bills until I actually see the final form.
Well, shifting that to a hypothetical, how do you feel generally about the idea of using an income tax credit to offset property tax burden? You know, the argument for that, of course, is that it would be a way to reach renters more directly than hoping landlords reduce.
Yeah, we've been pretty clear. The question, just to repeat it for those online, would we use income tax revenue to offset property taxes? We've been pretty clear that's a no-go for us. Now, I'll look at every bill that comes to me, but I don't think we should take the income tax you pay to subsidize someone else. The homestead rate reduction gives benefit to Montana homeowners, small businesses, and renters, and I think that's the right way to go. Yes, Shaylee.
Shaylee Rager, Montana Public Radio. A follow-up question on that as well. Since the legislature still could tinker with 231 and make changes, would you like them to maybe take out the coordinating language with 154 that would make changes to 231 if 154 fails? Do you have thoughts on how the legislature should?
You know, I'm going to reserve judgment till it's done. I think what Montanans are counting on is us doing permanent property tax relief. The homestead rate reduction bill does that. I guess I'd rather see it stand alone, but I'll leave it to the legislature to debate these issues. I respect the fact that they're representing their constituents and trying to do the best job they can. Yes?
Blair Miller with Lee Newspapers. It looks like right now most of the tax bills are still alive. They're being kept alive, or everyone wants to be able to consider all these things as we get through transmittal. What kind of conversations are you having with the House and Senate in terms of trying to keep either property task force bills alive or just the kind of array of them all so we can keep kind of moving down the road on all of this?
Yes, the question is really what discussions have been having with legislative leadership about this. I meet with minority leadership and majority leadership every single week. I don't think our advocacy is any different than what I represented in the State of the State. Our tax platform is pretty simple. We think Montana should keep more of what they earn. We need to do the homestead rate cut. I think that given we have the highest income tax rate in the Rocky Mountain West, we ought to bring that down as well. And thirdly, I think that we need to give a break for our farmers and ranchers and small businesses by increasing the exemption on the business equipment tax. Those are the bills that we're, from the administration's perspective, we're focused on. But again, we'll look at all the bills as they make it to us. Yeah, do we have a question online? Okay, Shaylee?
I have a question about federal employment in Montana. I'm thinking about the layoffs we've seen in Montana for federal employees. In the past, when we've seen mass layoffs, like with timber industry, the state offered $2 million for assistance to those workers after they were laid off for training, for new jobs. Is something like that appropriate in this instance for federal employees?
It might be. The Department of Labor scrambles a SWAT team. We did this for, the question was, would the state help displace federal workers here in the state? We're going to help all Montanans. When Siboney-Stillwater had their layoff, we scrambled a SWAT team from labor and industry and commerce to help them land on their feet. We got help them, many of them, with jobs in other companies. We do that for any Montanan.
Quick follow-up on that. Thinking about summer coming up, are you concerned about Montana having the firefighters and federal lands workers that it needs to fight fires this summer? Is DNRC needing any additional funding to hire more? Where do we fall?
Yeah, so I'm proud of the work that DNRC has done. The state is ready. We've topped off our fire suppression fund. We've made investments working with the legislature in fuels reduction to make our forests more resilient. But I'll be really clear, the Forest Service has not been a good partner. Last year, they gave us commitment that they would execute a full suppression strategy on all fires. And then we caught them sitting on their hands last summer during fire season. They had aviation assets, they had trail crews, and they were just watching the fires burn. And when we confronted the Forest Service on this, they said, and I repeat verbatim, that monitoring a fire is full suppression. So we need new leadership at the Forest Service that's actually going to partner with the state for the security of the people of Montana.
Do you feel good about the crews we have, though?
We do, yeah. We kept, last year, we just got the data, the fires under state control, we kept 95% to 10 acres or less. That is a tremendous record for our firefighters.
Yeah, Eric again with Free Press. Back to 231, apologies. Another thing that has changed is that bill's moved through the legislature a couple different times. The rates in that bill, the taxable value rates, have been amended down to provide more relief to residential properties, especially lower value residential properties. That, of course, could shift more burden onto businesses and farms. Are you comfortable with how those rates are moving in that bill as it goes through?
Well, we'll wait on that specific bill, but I'll say generally, we're an advocate for flat taxes, that where people that make more pay more, people that make less pay less. We've been able to provide some preferential treatment, particularly for lowest income people in our income tax proposal, expanding the earned income tax credit. So in the end, I'll look at the bills when they get to us and we'll make a decision there.
Governor, we have Amanda online.
Okay, well, why don't we take Amanda's question? Go ahead, Amanda. Maybe not. We'll go back to her if we can get the mic turned on. Yeah.
Carly again, Lee Newspapers. Section B moved a budget out that did not fully fund all, I think it was 11 BISPIC recommendations from your budget. I'm just curious sort of what your reaction or response is to that and how, if at all, it might sort of change your calculus as you would think about the budget.
Yeah, this $300 million we allocated in 2023 towards behavioral health was really a historic investment. I'm proud of the work that BISFIG did with executive branch representation as well as legislators. I endorse their recommendations. I'd like to see them all funded. But again, the legislature has a role in determining what appropriations are actually advanced. And again, we'll see what the final form of the budget is when it gets back to us.
Yes. Blair again from Lee's Newspapers. Today, Senator McGillivray's bill attempting to reallocate some of the marijuana tax revenue is up again. I know that was a big fight during 2023 and where that ended up. Obviously, signing die and all that. But just curious, I know your administration supported last session sending more of that to public safety. I think McGillivray's is sort of public safety and general fund. Just curious if you have any thoughts on supporting that. Or
Yeah, I can't comment on a specific bill because I haven't looked at it. But just in general, we have the highest income tax rate in the Rocky Mountain West. When you peel general fund off and allocate it for special purposes, whether it's county roads and bridges or backfilling property tax, it means everybody pays a higher income tax rate, and I don't think that's fair. So we're not. Again, I'm not commenting on a specific bill, but conceptually, that's where we are. Yes, Shaylee.
You mentioned on Montana Talks earlier this week that you wanted to see lawmakers focus and get 231 to your desk quicker. How are you feeling about that now? Do you think the legislature's been lagging behind? How are we doing on deadlines to get it done this year? What do you think?
Well, I had hoped to have it by now, but I want to recognize the legislature is working very hard. I have about a dozen bills in my possession now that I'll consider later today. I've signed 3 bills so far this legislative session, so with another dozen in the hopper. But I know there's been over 1,000 bills introduced, so they're working hard. I look forward to getting more of them to me, and Montanans are counting on us getting permanent property tax relief done. Yeah.
And follow up on that, is there still time to implement the 231 changes for the tax bills that'll go out this fall? And if that doesn't end up being timed, what would you support, like another round of rebates or something like that?
Yeah, so the question is there still time left to get the homestead rate reduction done this year? The clock is ticking. It's the right policy approach. I'm pleased that it's on 3rd reading in the House today. Hopefully the Senate can act on it swiftly. They've been working hard too, but we need to get it done. Yes?
Is HB 121 in that pack of 12 that you said you'll be considering?
It's not. No, I haven't received 121 yet.
Okay, quick follow-up on that. Obviously, I think it was a Missoula District Court judge ruled, was it last week, against a bill from last session that tried to define sex as binary, ruled against that law. Obviously, that definition is used in the text of 121. Does that impact your consideration of the bill at all when it lands on your desk?
So you mentioned the court decision in Missoula saying that there's more sexes than male and female. That's not our administration's position, nor is it of the United States government. For a long time, biology has told us there are men and there are women. And we're going to continue to act accordingly.
Governor, I
Good.
believe I've got it fixed.
Okay, go ahead, Amanda.
Hi, this is Amanda Baker calling from Montana Free Press. Thank you for making yourself available today. Really appreciate it. I'm asking about federal to state land transfer. So other states in the region, including Wyoming and Utah, have articulated clear positions on state ownership of federal lands, but I have yet to see Montana clearly articulate whether that's something it would like to pursue. What is your position on Montana assuming ownership of federal land?
Yeah, we have a forest health crisis in Montana. I personally believe we ought to be using the tools that are in the box today, particularly the Good Neighbor Authority. The state already manages 5 million acres under Memorandum of Understanding through the Good Neighbor Authority. We can be managing more acres. There was point you to an article that was in the Wall Street Journal recently that highlighted the fact that when the state manages land through grazing leases, through sustainable timber harvest, we actually generate money for our schools. Last year we transferred $92 million to our school system because of our stewardship of the land. The federal government loses money on every acre. So I think a partnership makes a lot of sense here. We've had no discussion with the administration about deed transfer to the state. Our focus has been expanded management responsibility, particularly of lands in the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface. The Forest Action Plan that was put together by the prior administration here in Montana identified about 4 million acres in desperate need of management around our cities and towns. This is a public safety issue, and we can do it in a way that improves habitat, expands recreational opportunities, increases wildfire resiliency, and generates revenue for our schools. So I don't know why we wouldn't do that. I just wish the Forest Service would use the tools they have in the box.
Just as a follow-up to that, so if the federal administration did say that they were interested in a transfer to state ownership, what would you say?
Well, it's a hypothetical. We've been advocating for expanded state management of federal lands because we can do a better job than the feds can. If they make that proposal, we'll let you know at that time.
And one final, just because we're in this realm of talking about federal land management here, my understanding is that there's a significant amount of funding that was funneled through the Good Neighbor Authority that came from the infrastructure law and also the Inflation Reduction Act. And I'm wondering if DNRC is still able to utilize those funds for wildfire mitigation projects in the wake of the federal funding freeze.
Yeah, the way I worked on Good Neighbor Authority when I was in Congress, expanding the capabilities. And let me just say, when we enter into a Good Neighbor Authority agreement with the federal government, we've done a number here in the state, it generates revenue for the state. It is not federal money that's transferred to the state. We do sustainable yield on the forest, and there's revenues generated from the sale of timber that's harvested, and the state gets to keep a significant portion of those revenues. So this is not a federal funding stream that would be cut off if we use the Good Neighbor Authority. It would actually generate revenue in Montana for Montana while being better stewards of the forest. So I'm a big fan of that approach. We'll take one more question, if there is one. Yes?
Tom Ridgely, newspapers. This one's a little out of left field, but
This is like the Lee section over there.
biennially, the legislature, when it comes to wildlife management bills, every session the legislature tries its hand to force the hand of the Wildlife Commission on mule deer, wolves, elk tag allocation, this, that. How much do you welcome the legislature, and if you do at all, the legislature forcing the hand of the Fish and Wildlife Commission?
Well, we'll have to see what bills come forward. These are issues that are passionate for Montanans on all sides. Our conservation community, sportsmen and women, landowners, the outfitters, and all the voices need to be heard. I have a lot of respect for the legislative process because only issues that have broad support make it through and make it to my desk. So I consider every bill that gets to me seriously. I also think I'm proud of the work that our Fish and Wildlife Commission does. They have regular open meetings. We have an open process. We use the science involved to make wise decisions because we have to steward these assets that are so important to Montanans, and literally. And it's so passionate because hunting and fishing is not some activity we pursue. It's truly who we are as individual Montanans, and that's why people get pretty excited about it. So, great. Thank you very much.